Hey guys, if you love QF's content on our free Sundays and Thursday sessions, then please visit our Patreon page in the description and sub to the Black Kluge tier or higher for full access to not only our bonus weekly Tuesday night shows and the alternate Sunday shows you've been missing, but also to the exclusive episodes not available to the lower tiers. It's roughly the price of one coffee a month, and nobody at Starbucks will make you laugh like we do for that kind of scratch. In addition, when you sub to the Black Kluge tier, you'll get 2 weeks advance access to each Thursday session on Patreon before it makes it to YouTube.
E-world and the hip-hop world and so on, they'll drop these things, and we've never done a drop. Good morning, Bryce.
How many?
Are you
Who is
off
that?
to school? That's my son, Bryce. Are you going to school? Dude, we just played
Bryce.
the new song on Howard. Thank you.
Let me see that kid. Where is he? Come here,
say hi
Bryce.
to Howard. Howard wants to say hi.
Hey, Bryce.
Can you see?
Bryce.
Can you see
Wow,
Howard?
you're a good-looking kid.
He's saying you're a
It's
good
Bryce.
looking kid. Thanks, Howard.
Hey, can't hear you.
You're a good-looking
Say hi.
kid.
Good morning,
Oh,
Robin.
dude.
Also.
Morning, Robin.
Let me take a look. Wow, the whole band is there. Look at that band.
We're in
gotta
for a
get in
treat.
Good-looking boys. Look at that band.
It is
What
so
is it?
disturbing.
Richard, what's going on in your asshole?
Well, I don't turn around and look at my asshole very much. So
Unfortunately, I do.
this was news to me.
Is this? Did you see it? Because we're, like
Yeah,
Mamet
we
was
were
telling me,
rehearsing.
he's trying to find a magnetic fish that'll go in Richard's asshole.
Sal's face was like right down there, and he goes,
was-
"Oh!" Like he freaked out when he saw it.
Let me
Yeah.
see your asshole.
Romantic comedy.
That's right, Robin. You and I love romantic. I'll watch two gay guys fall in love. What the fuck? I love that shit. Yeah, why not? I think it's great. I wish it was more graphic.
Oh, I
And,
must have blocked that out.
It was kind of like this thick. I didn't block it out. I always check out guys' penises.
Average OnlyFans account. I found a website that said it was like $7 is what the average OnlyFans subscription is, and this is $40. That's more than like any streaming service. You know, so it's
Well,
a monthly recurring thing. That's crazy.
$40. You should at least see the inside of his asshole, not just the ass cheeks.
Oh, sure.
No,
Yeah,
you're
right,
right. And
yeah,
the
right.
other thing,
But I did. I got through it. I'm not.
you soldiered on.
I'm masculine as all hell, ladies.
Like
men.
a troop.
All that shit I did back then.
Did your friends ever jizz on you?
No, it was so. Oh my god, this is so gross.
In Jersey.
Is that what you wear, Nick? Magnums? Is that your brand?
Oh, I think that.
Be honest. Seriously.
What? That is the one I prefer.
You're something else. Those are the ones I prefer. You prefer them because you're so fucking big down there. Jesus. Magnum is for guys who are extraordinarily big.
I'll know what you want me to do.
I mean, I can't imagine, with your 9 inches, I can't imagine any woman ever leaving you. I mean, honestly, it's amazing.
I do get-
9 inches.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Jim Fix, a.k.a. Fillmore Fingers. With me for part 2 of The Dope of Greenwich Village, Mr. Jay Santi, the creator, or co-creator, at least creator, right, of Turnbuckle Tabloid?
Creator and moderator and innovator and procrastinator as well. I got cover this is it. But today I'm also going as Mark, as you know, Mark Harris, and I'm making sure everybody at QF gets a bottle of douche dos.
Well, I tell you what, man, this is some sort of sad occasion on one aspect. That I got to raise a glass and light a candle for Mr. Gene Hackman, who passed away recently. When I got that news, and the more sordid the news coming out as we record this, they're determining it wasn't carbon monoxide poisoning, and he'd been dead for a few days. Like his pacemaker went out on the 17th of February, and so he'd been dead for quite a bit before they both been dead for quite a while before they found him and his wife.
Yeah, apparently it probably was one of those instances where she just couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
and took her
popped a
own
bunch of pills afterwards.
left the remaining for the dog that was around. It's just it's sad, but such a great career that man had. You look at the listings of all he has on his IMDb, and it doesn't even equate to the greatness that was his career. Like it's just even even the low key roles that you didn't think would be great, as in he did in with the Birdcage. I thought he was phenomenal in that.
He was.
To Unforgiven, to even the Quick and the Dead. Anytime he jumped on that screen, you know it was going to be magic time.
Yeah, the first film of him I saw was probably Superman, and he was just brilliant. He was the best part of Superman 1 and 2, the original Donner ones. But then later on, I think the next one was Bonnie and Clyde. I didn't even realize he was in. I go, hey man, that's Lex Luthor. I was a kid. But
even better, Young Frankenstein. He went uncredited as the blind guy. It was great.
That was great. I didn't even realize it until well later. And the conversation was amazing. His performance in Mississippi Burning, he should have gotten an Oscar.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it was just like that type of instructor Hartman, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman.
It was funny because I just saw last night that he was going to be given the role that Jack Nicholson took in A Few Good Men, but he couldn't take it because he was doing Unforgiven, in which he won Best Supporting Actor against Jack Nicholson's A Few Good Men,
which was a great performance. I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, and courtroom dramas at the time weren't my thing. And I wasn't a Jack Nicholson admirer then. I liked him a lot later, but it was a tour de force. Like it was a total like a level actor fucking performance for the books.
Yeah. Oh.
But rest in peace, Gene. We loved you, and whatever happens, I'm sure you're up there with the rest of the greats. Just chilling and having a great time up there. So we're going to continue. Sorry, go ahead, man.
Just quickly, to think about it, he came out of a class of 3 who were roommates. All one, I believe it was himself, Hoffman, and Khan. Who all broke out during the same time. It's like you don't ever hear that in Hollywood, that 3 guys who were buddies and roommates end up being like phenomenal actors. It's crazy.
Yep, he just stole the screen. Whoever was on there, like he was unforgettable. Like you mentioned, Unforgiven, Crimson Tide. He just chewed up the scenery.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, him and Denzel both. I mean, that was two A level actors going right at it, and just perfect. You don't see films like that anymore. You try. At any rate, guys, we'll continue with the Ralphie bashing, and we hope you enjoyed part 1, and we hope you continue to enjoy part 2 as we go.
I didn't know you were sitting here. Would it be all right if
he would treat me with an ounce of freaking respect and just say to me, "Hey, I was going to sit there."
I did say I was going to sit there, and he came back with some wise ass response.
I was saving these. If you could be.
What happened? You said to him, I said, "Hey, I was sitting there." And he came back with like some wise ass response.
I didn't see you sitting there. I see a coat there.
Yeah, duh. Don't you wonder who it belongs to? Let me tell you something. If that were Howard's coat, you'd be groveling like a pussy right now. Because it's my coat, you don't care.
Ralph, people show up in a movie, you put your coat down, you stand up to talk, or go to the bathroom. That's normal.
Gary, you always have to make that comparison. And that's
that's right, because you have no respect for anyone but Howard.
That is not true.
Well, then why don't we ask everybody else that thinks that?
I love it, man. This is, he's dead however many years now, 1.5 years or something like that. And Howard just recently said they're going to put together, believe it or not, Ralph AI on the air.
Oh, yeah, I heard that, and I was like, oh, great. We're going to have him annoying us from beyond the grave. Awesome.
Well, like I said to Raven, I've got my own Ralph AI clips to play, so I'll be putting those up to counteract them. But no, death is not enough for this asshole. Although I will say, since Ben Stern died, he doesn't talk about him anymore, except when he's talking to some interviewee about how shitty his life was. But by and large, he doesn't bring him up. He doesn't do impressions anymore. I wonder about that.
Yeah, it's it seems as though that he had more of a mourning period for Ralph than he did for his dad.
Yep. And how much of the mourning period was, okay, can I think of every possible place he hid some fucking Polaroids? You know, like is it in the AT-AT walker that he has standing in there, like in the compartment?
The scavenger hunt for where all the bodies are buried. They're looking for how deep the bone was buried.
Right, false floor. I'm sure they got radar equipment in there to see exactly what there was.
Publicist for the movie, Howard's a limo driver. Everybody that works on E, let's get online.
Ronnie did say he has no problem with Ralph anymore.
Yo, well,
Yeah.
Since when?
I don't know, recently.
Your publicist just
That's
called.
yesterday. Yeah.
Your publicist just called to leave a message for Gary, and I said, "Are you listening to this?" And he goes, "Ooh, I'm loving every minute of it." I said, "Do you want to come on the air?" He goes,
"No, that would not
I'm
be
a
appropriate.
private guy."
That would not be. That would be inappropriate. This is between Gary and Ralph.
Yeah, that would be real inappropriate because we'd have a real big problem then.
He goes, he said that he is the sand in his Vaseline.
Yeah, what's he doing with the Vaseline? I wonder.
Oh, please.
No, but Ralph, I mean, let's go back. Let's go back seriously. Take it back a step. Let's go back to when we met you at Channel 9, right?
Go ahead.
You and Dan couldn't get along well.
Gary, let's not. Let's discuss this incident.
But what is Gary's point? Are you saying that Dan and Ralph didn't get along?
Let's go back to.
He's talking about Dan Foreman, right?
Dan Foreman, yeah.
Yeah.
To the incident. The incident is
from day one, Ralph hasn't gotten along with anybody.
Gary.
Who are you claiming that Ralph doesn't get along with?
Sooner or later, he's had a run-in with everybody.
Gary.
Maybe people like Dan. I'm sure likes him now, but sooner or later, he's had a run-in with everyone. Good.
Stop it.
Oh, curse.
I'm still standing here.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Hang up.
The point is, let's get back to this other thing.
Okay, so Ralph,
Are you accusing? Let him say something. Are you accusing Ralph of being a listener gone wild?
No, we've said that in private.
Yeah, listener gone wild. Well, yeah, he was a listener. Will was a listener. Ronnie was a listener, from what I can recall.
What stands out through all this is in 95, 96.
97, this one.
97,
this particular
97,
one.
right?
Yep.
And then through the years, it just didn't change. Like you gave him superpowers at this day. This is when he was able to break this is when the spider bit him in his neck and he became Spider Fag. Like, honestly, he was able to freaking break out and become the most obnoxious piece of shit on the show in the history. Like, this was it, because it didn't stop him. The ball just kept rolling.
Well, in response to your question, which we posed to everybody else, who are the top 4 in the Mount Rushmore, hatred Hall of Fame for most people, the answers were quite different. One of them said John. One of them wrote down John the Stutterer, which I found fascinating because, like, was he on enough to really warrant hating?
No. I mean, the only time he really had a lot of airtime is when they did the Get Josh Job contest, but not really. Unless he probably met Stuttering John, he just flipped it by accident. Who knows? But
yeah, maybe.
And like I said, I there was enough that I could put ETM on there. I could have put like I said, I had Benji up there. There was a few that who was it? Yeah, John Hine could be a bit obnoxious as well. Like it could be, as I said, but yeah, Ralph for me just was like the tip of the dildo for out of everybody. It was just he was the creme de la creme.
Well, I mean, someone's going to have to get left off. If there's only 4 slots, you got to leave a bunch of people off, actually. And so if someone said Jason, for example, which we'll be covering another Jason episode pretty soon, Kayla and I totally understand why people would hate Jason after fashion. But you want to go longevity, who's the most hated? I mean, I could imagine someone hating Elliot Offen. Just getting annoyed with that fucking shtick and hating it.
Yeah, especially when he became the tough guy, with Louis Dimes, and I bust him in the mouth like that. Once he went to the dice thing, I was like, all right, I'm done with this guy.
That was shitty. My favorite parts were when he did the football picks with Crazy Alice, and he only had like 5 minutes to get it in, or 8 minutes. That was my favorite.
It was just the level of irritability that Gary had gotten through all that. That was the one that got me, was because of how, what was it? Did he tell me he should shove a
hairbrush up your ass, you fucking homo?
Look at all the gay tolerance we got from Gary.
No kidding, Mr. Life Pete himself.
Ralph, go ahead, make your point.
No, but Ralph, here's a simple question. I want to ask you a simple question, because he asked me one. The question is, did it ever dawn on you to ask who the coat belonged to, out of courtesy?
Ralph?
The silence is deafening.
I didn't really think about it.
And you don't think that was wrong?
So that means no. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, and this is automatically, once again, there is truth to when the guys are saying he got this way because of being Howard's girlfriend. Like that's basically what it was. Granted, yeah, he probably came in being an obnoxious prick, but there's levels to it where at this stage it's like, hey, I could get away with whatever the fuck I want. Who was going to tell me anything? The only one who could say something is Howard.
Before the Bronx Tale, before the Bronx Tale came out, I did the door, not the Mario test. I did the door test on a bunch of girlfriends, and thankfully every one of them passed the test. They all opened that lock to make it easier. Back in the old days before remote locks and stuff like that, unlocking. And I was like, when I saw that in the movie, I go, that's it. Yes, someone else is doing it. It's not just me. What's that line? What's that line? For if she doesn't open that lock, dump her. She's a selfish son of a bitch. And you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg.
I have a coworker who just started not too long ago, and a lot of them, a lot of the management may sit there and believe like, this kid is is ambitious and he's a go-getter. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's trying to get his way through the door so he could like bypass everybody in front of him to get, higher up in the chain, climb the ladder quicker. And he'll do anything by hook or by crook to get there, even if he has to, tell on all the coworkers and such. And this is the same individual who says for years that he's a street guy and stuff. But I sit there and I go, and I've been saying for the longest, I said, this is not a behavior that just occurred once you got into the workforce. This has been around for a long time hanging. It's not so you got your foot into the right groove where you figured, oh, this is the place where I can be this kind of person. And I think that's what Ralph got. He's like, oh, I can be this guy because now I can reap the benefits of being this kind of obnoxious prick.
Well, yeah. And I mean, the fact that he wasn't ever punished, I mean, honestly, like this is the kind of behavior that if Gary did have the power, we presume that a quote unquote producer has, a normal producer would kick him to the fucking curb and say, I don't care what Howard wants. Like he's disrupting the office. He's disrupting my work. So if you want him like here, whatever. Now, of course, that's not how the business works. The big 800-pound pelican in the room, he's the one that decides this shit goes on. But if he really cared about efficiency in as far as making sure everybody gets their job done in the way it should be, then he would make sure Ralph was in some sequestered place or in his office waiting there, which of course would arouse a lot of suspicion if he was just in Howard's office the whole time. But at least he'd say, look, I respect everybody else enough to know that this has to happen. Otherwise, the workplace gets sloppy and we can't have that.
Yeah, I can't fathom that he was, doing all this stuff as a parking lot attendant. It just, I can't see that getting him anywhere else.
Well, God.
No.
Let me ask a question.
Ralph would be like those two guys in Ferris Bueller, the Richard Edgar character when they drive in the quote unquote Ferrari. It was a Corvette, actually.
No, he's more like the guy who at 48 Hours when Eddie goes to pick up his car. He's the gay guy with the afro.
Oh, that's an even better analogy. Fuck.
I just moved it over, Gary.
I think that shows a lack of manners, Howard. No matter who's doing it, and no matter whose code it is.
No, actually,
here's where I think this is where you guys go wrong, and I'm gonna. This is where you guys go wrong. Listen to me, Ralph. Listen to me.
No. Wait. Listen to me for a minute.
Wait, let me ask one question.
Let Ralph say something, and you'll go.
You had just Gary. If you just walked over you came screaming over at me with an attitude right away, and
you just totally disregarded what we just spoke about.
What do you think? I'm going to not get defensive?
You just totally disregarded what we spoke about. There would be no need to run over and no need for any defensiveness if you behaved with manners.
Gary, if
you don't have them.
If it was anyone else, you would have said, "Hey, I was sitting there," or "That's where I wanted to."
Ralph, you're not addressing the thing you did wrong, asshole. This kind of person would get they would be beaten into the dust in record time around my crowd.
But you know what though? He learns from his Jedi, and his Jedi is Mr. Shadow Boxer or Mr. Avoidance of being found guilty or wrong of any wrongdoing, and that's his girlfriend, boyfriend Howard.
Now that I'm more versed in like NPD. and now you can. It really is like they live. You can see these people when you meet them, like almost immediately because of certain isms, and more with the way they interact with other people as well. But one of them I remember. Oh God, it was not even that long ago, and she's some rich trust fund kid. Actually, she's playing it, being a teacher, and I saw her, and she's doing her whole spiel, and then I go like, so is this your shtick? Like, this is your get sympathy for me shtick, tonight? Because I only had a couple drinks in me, but she was doing this wah thing to make it all about her instead of asking questions about other people. Right. And she goes, "What do you mean, what's shtick?" And I go, "I've heard about you. I heard that this is, you start crying by the end of the night to try to get people to notice you." And because I'm the age I am, and because I don't give a fuck about certain, like, social, like I'm too old now. I'm turning 50 next month to care about such social conventions. Like, you're supposed to all get along and all this stuff. Like, no, you don't have to get along. And if you can do this with people, you can actually have fun with the NPD once you know who they are.
Yeah, this is why we're friends, because we're in the same boat, come age-wise and everything. So this is the same behavior that I that's the same trait that I have as well. But it's funny because ever since we did, you guys, and thank you guys for opening my eyes to this, because I went down my own rabbit hole and started like pointing people out in my life, and I'm like, oh my God, this is who this. Oh my God, this is who I was living with. And
yes,
like
could be
now,
family.
Yeah, and believe me, it is, and it was, and it's like, you now the best part is when you educate other people on it, and they sit there and go,
"How'd you know?
That's a real thing?"
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
Well, it is, and unfortunately, it's only getting worse with social media and whatnot, and it's endemic, I suppose. And you really have to. I do the best to keep my nieces and nephews grounded, and thank God most of them are just really, really good-natured kids. Yes, they've got all the apps and all the phones and the newest this and that, but they're not Instagram whores jumping in front of traffic trying to make it all about them, or sitting in front of a restaurant going, "Look at me eating at La Chez Paris," and whatever. I hate that fucking shit. Well, anyway, guys, I'm really sorry for that little random rant about NPD, but sometimes when you're listening to assholes like Ralph, it just comes out. Unfortunately, Howard never will.
Can you sit over a seat? But you were like, "You piece of crap, get out of here. You don't belong."
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said.
What did you say to him?
I didn't say anything like that. I said, "Why did you move my coat?" He immediately came back with some wise-ass response, and then I attacked him after that.
Here. Get out. You said, "You're not part of the show. You don't belong here."
I didn't say you're not part of the show. I said you don't belong in these two rows because you were giving me a hard time, and I decided that I didn't need to argue with you on an important night in my life.
Gary's absolutely right, and I know he could be a pompous ass, especially later on, although Gary thinks he was a pompous ass all the way back, and maybe that's right. Ralph's doing the whole trying to shout back, shout down, same as Howard, like get someone, don't let someone get a word in edgewise, obfuscate, deny, don't even address things. You're right. He's like, he's Luke Skywalker with the blue lightsaber.
So my question is, and I'm not meaning to double back on the NPD thing, but we're bringing up Gary. Is it that he also might recognize a little bit of that within themselves too, or is there a distinct difference between NPD and someone being an elitist?
Well, yeah, because NPD, I mean, it's classified as a what do you call it, a psychological disease, like a psychological problem. If someone's an elitist, that's just a really shitty attitude they have from being to me, it's new money, old money, anybody with money. That especially there's a difference between old money and new money attitudes I've found in my life. Old money tends to be, well, first of all, you're never going to meet them. New money, they have a hard time not flaunting it. Like Bowie's got to be Gadget Gary. Remember the "I Want You Back" video?
Right.
One of the first things he says in the video, first of all, I got a new camera. He's always been Gadget Gary. And once he started making more money and he decided he wanted to enjoy it or whatever, he's happy to, splurge on certain things to make himself happy. It's all about making himself feel good. he's bored in Vegas. He got to call someone to become, make it exciting for himself. But someone like Ralph, it's clear like the guy's got entitled only because of who he's with, and he knows that like Ralph, Howard's clearly told him, or at least showed him the way he's behaved. You're never going to catch any shit from them. You only have to worry about me.
Right. Yeah, I figured that because it also with Gary, yeah, I guess it's that as well, because with him it's always, anytime you hear stories about him, it's, hey, we were at the Bruce Springsteen concert, or
right
that at the Crafts house with the New England Patriots. It's always that, more of a brag more than anything else.
Yeah. It's like some type of like hedonistic thing. Like he must not hedonism. It's I don't know, maybe Dionysian. He wants to celebrate stuff. He needs stuff like the pieces of vinyl is one thing. The bigger house he needed. Did he really need that house in Maine as an investment? I suppose it was fine. Maybe he made his money on it, but I think it's more about keeping up with the Joneses and showing the Joneses what I fucking got, bitch.
Right.
Yeah. So, and thinking I'm a producer, I got to live like a producer, but you're not, Rob Burnett.
Yeah. And that's what it's always been with him. And he always hated the fact that Wiggy would say that, but that's generally what it was. It was him chasing that position that he had the ambition to be Burnett or those guys.
But not the talent. I mean, he thinks he's Dick Wolf.
Well, it's funny because there's an argument that
he's half right.
There's an argument that came up between Ralph and Gary later on, in which they had it on the show, in which he asked, is Gary a great producer? And Ralph point blank said he's a great producer for the Howard Stern show.
Right.
And that's telling to say that, yeah, anywhere else you just might sink. You're not gonna swim, But yeah, that's not a compliment to say the least. It's not.
Well, one time it was 2000, I don't know, when a wrap-up show, so obviously post 2006, and Gary said, if the offer came to work for the Whoopi Goldberg show or something, he said I'd probably be making 4 to 5 times more money there than I am here, but I wouldn't be able to take it. Now that was him kissing Howard's ass on the wrap-up show, knowing the boss is listening. But he used to say this all the time: if I got that job. But was he actively shopping around for a better gig? I think he was schmoozing for the purposes of seeing what might be out there, but I don't think he was actively looking publicly, because he knows that would get back to Howard.
Well, it was telling when they finally came out that they pitched the offer for Gary and Artie to have a show once Wiggy left to Satellite. So there's maybe some kind of worth that he brings into something.
I think it was just a matter of like, when that offer came, I think it was for Gary and Artie to do a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a sports-based show, I think. And it could have worked. I mean, I don't think Artie would have been able to, like, God only knows, why would you want to hear just about New York sports teams on a fucking show? But Artie knew more about other teams from a certain era, so he could probably do the work. I just don't think he'd want to be stuck doing the gig. Although when they said, I think he said the figure I remember was $5 million a year, I'd fucking do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's big money to pass up. I don't know how they was able to pull that off.
Right. But notice they didn't bother telling Howard until they had already signed the deal with Sirius.
Right.
So they didn't want to they didn't want to use that to parlay that into, look, Howard, we're getting this offer. What are you going to do for us?
Yeah, and that's the other thing with the other MPD guy. It's the control. That's just
Yeah.
You'd think if they wouldn't have taken that it wouldn't have been years upon years of bashing. Like it was just. It would have never ended.
More importantly, you just put your thinking cap on in that era, 2005. If the fans know Artie's not coming along, how many are sticking with Howard? I don't think too many.
Yeah, he would have to scramble to find someone to really I can't even say to be an equal to the listeners anymore. It would have to he would have to grovel to get someone like maybe an Adam Carolla or somebody like that.
Yep, I was thinking the same thing. Even a Kimmel, if he hadn't had his show already, I don't remember if 2005 he had it already. I think he did, but but then then he would have been scrambling for Florentine or somebody else, like all the guys that did get John's job, but couldn't do it. Ron Zimmerman, no, he wouldn't have been able to fill those shoes, not immediately.
It would have been Nick DiPaolo.
I didn't realize you were producing the seating. If somebody had told me that, I would have checked.
What he's saying is that
I would have checked with you, Gary, to see where I could sit.
What he's saying.
I don't care where you sit. I'm just saying have some manners about it.
And you're so stupid. You picked the worst rows. The best seats were in the back where me and Robin ended up sitting anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Because the whole theater is 20 feet long, Ralph. I had awful
so what's
seats.
the big deal? Why do you have to? Why do you have to separate people? Why do you have to make that distinction?
It's not about separation. You're missing the point.
Ralph.
You're missing the point. It's not about separation. It's about where I was sitting.
Ralph, that's where you go wrong. Ralph, that's where you go wrong.
Push it on me because that's how you are.
Ralph, you're off base.
I'm not.
It was his screening. He invited who he wanted to.
I didn't know that.
Forget that he
doesn't know that.
know
Why can't he
that.
make that distinction?
Forget that Ralph doesn't know that.
Why do you analyze that?
Gary didn't call and invite me. How do I know this?
Look at him smiling. Look at this fucking devil piece of shit.
He loves it. This is Thanksgiving and Christmas to him all rolled into one.
Oh, it's radio gold. It's like I keep getting reminded of that fucking bro fight, the beginning of the bro fight, where Artie's probably 3 minutes into the show and hasn't said anything, and Robin and Howard are just like punching themselves they're punching themselves out like rope-a-dope, and Artie he's just keeping silent. He's waiting, and when he does finally speak, he gets a laugh.
But I just heard this recently, and it was so perfect the way that Artie explained it. It was another instance where they were talking about Artie buying a house.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
Right. And this was like they started a conversation at the 6 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
And Artie's like, he explained it. He says, usually you stick and you wait because, you'll find your spot in which you can come back. He says, but at that moment, they were getting on my fucking nerves. And, he said, I just reacted. Because he had told Howard, I'm really ready to bash you over the fucking head.
I love that one. He goes, right, so you've defined radio and landlords. Thanks. He goes, why don't you give me a list of all the good things I do? All the right moves I make.
Yeah, he says, listen, sometimes you got to, you stick and move. But that moment, it just got me.
We are going to have to cover that one. If you want dibs on that one, we can do that next time.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
The point is that if there's a sectioned off area, you ask first, am I supposed to be in the sectioned off area?
Well, he claims that he was
told me to go sit there.
And you don't have a problem with that. Right. You're saying there were two empty rows. Why do you have to move my seat?
Howard, there was a whole row. If Ralph had sat down in that row, I would have never blinked an eyelash.
Gary,
never.
You know what this is?
What?
This is a bunch of misunderstandings, and neither one of them knows how to communicate.
And I'll tell you what. No, wait. I'll tell you what it is. It's a culmination.
And John Isaac's a jerk off because that's not he's.
If you listen clearly, you just hear Jackie in the back just throwing his little non sequiturs or his little subs. It's like, nah, Ralph is just wrong. He's just wrong.
Well, Jackie, he knows. He just he doesn't know, I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship, but he knows that he knows right from wrong. I think that's key. And I mean, of them, you think about the people you hate on the show. The reason why I love Jackie more than all these guys is because he does have a little bit of sense of morality, and he knows, he might be hard to live with, he might be hard to deal with in negotiations, all that shit. But at the end of the day, he knows there are lines you don't cross. He knows about etiquette, even though he's got some horrible hygiene.
Well, he knows etiquette for everyone else, but if he has interns running around getting papers signed by guests who came in, hey, could you sign this? This is a joke I wrote during the interview. He'll know for others, but not for himself.
Oh man, that's what he said. You know what? Ironically enough, the fucking thing is, all those autographs he has, he doesn't get them. Like he should be getting them in a book and selling them on eBay, because you know how much people would pay for some of these guest signatures. Some of the guests aren't even alive anymore that he's got.
Yeah, and what is he? He says, "How many you guys you get signed? I got 3 signed. One to sell, one for myself, and just when I have around."
That's great.
There's a way to conduct yourself.
Something else to me.
Ralph, anybody that doesn't agree with you is a jerk off.
That's right.
When have you
You're
ever,
the biggest jerk
Ralph,
off.
of all the confrontations you've ever had, when have you ever once admitted that you might have been wrong?
Never.
I'll think about it.
Hold on a second.
Wait, here's
Ralph,
Scott Einziger. He was there.
Let me ask one thing.
Einziger, what happened that night? Straighten this out for me. I'm trying to. I know Ralph has
First of all,
personality
Ralph-
conflicts. I'm trying to help him with it.
Ralph, don't call me a jerk off, man.
Well, why do you tell Gary one thing and then me something else?
Actually, that's not what I said to Gary. First of all, that was
Scott Einziger, the producer of the E! Show, who happened to be an eyewitness to this.
First of all, it was an incredibly uncomfortable moment.
Go ahead.
First of all, this is the first. I think this is one of the few times, not the first time, but one of the few times you'll see Einziger on camera.
In the early days of E, he was on. He would pop in from time to time. He would. It became more less and less during the years.
Yeah.
Basically, what Gary described is correct. I guess Ralph moved a jacket. Ralph, you were sitting on the arm of the chair, and Gary questioned why Ralph was there.
How did he question? What did he say?
It was basically like.
Did he walk over in a
Did
huff?
he have an attitude? Was he
Well,
rough?
I will admit I walked over angry. There's no doubt
Gary
about
was
it.
angry, but I think that's based upon their history that they don't like each other.
Right. And that's what's causing the problem.
And that's what I said to Gary, and I told you, Ralph, that you guys have so much baggage between each other. This was just
that it became one more incident.
This is just more fuel.
Yeah. So Gary was in a position of power right there because Gary did set this whole thing up, and it was really intense. Ralph wasn't really sure what to do. But in that case, I think Ralph decided it was better to retreat, but was super angry to the point where I thought these guys were going to go at it.
Well, because Ralph's a bitch, and he's not going to ever, like, if someone can't apologize, that's a massive character flaw. And the real retreat would be, "I'm so sorry, man, I didn't mean that." And you know how much that diffuses things in life, just saying "I'm sorry"? A lot of people can't say it.
Right. Everybody thinks they're Fonzie. They think it's and like you mentioned earlier, the older you get, the more you get, I guess, more comfortable with the who gives a fuck. Like it's like it becomes that moment, and then I've always said I live my life with the most least regrets as possible. That's what it is. And and if you do have a hiccup, you're like, hey, even if you don't want to say I'm sorry, hey, the hood shit, be like, hey, my bad, yo. Like it's like
sometimes the path of least resistance is the best way to go. And if you know that it's going to make your life a little easier, and even if you don't feel like apologizing, just do it sometimes to get out of a fucking, it's going to help. Like if it's going to be 15 minutes discussion, just say I'm sorry, even if you have nothing to apologize for. That's the way I've been the last 10 years. I found I got fewer headaches as a result.
You take one for the team, and that team is yourself. You just got to keep playing the game of life. Just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
For a moment.
Over a stupid chair.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not over a stupid chair.
In a 20-seat theater. Come on, guys.
Robert, but you can obviously see that that's not what it's about. It's not about a chair.
Yes, but that's what you were talking about.
No, it's about a lack of. It's about a lack of respect.
Scott's right.
Excuse me. Wait a minute.
No.
What they were talking about was a chair. They made it about their entire relationship.
Yes.
No, it is about the chair. It is about the respect, and it's now about this moment where Ralph's not backing down, not apologizing. The other stuff is fuel to the fire, but if Ralph doesn't do the initial thing, none of this happens. You don't hear this discussion.
And it's not the relationship, it's not their friendship, because that doesn't come into play with it. It's more like you said, it's the subject matter and what's the real underlining, which is the respect and not apologizing, coming to grips with. He needs to walk away winning. He thinks that he's Wiggy, and he got to walk away winning.
Yes.
I still hold fast to the very. I still hold fast to the very simple
premise that you had a coat on a chair that you moved.
ask somebody. You just ask somebody.
It's a courtesy.
It's a courtesy.
If Ralph went to a movie somewhere, he wouldn't do that.
Ralph is discourteous, and he's discourteous all the time. It really has nothing to do with you.
Right.
He just is a discourteous person.
Yeah, but
Are you saying that I
enough.
should just know Ralph is discourteous and learn to live with it?
No, I'm not saying learn to live. I say, Ralph, that was my seat. Don't move my coat. End of story.
Well, that's
It's not that simple, asshole. She's an idiot. And the other thing is, Ralph's not going to treat her like that. He's going to treat Bowie like that. Second of all, this is the guy we're talking about that got punched out at Scores for fucking with some guy. How many?
They were ready to say Chuck Zito did it.
Fuck. I mean, like, my question is, how often does it happen that no one knows about, where he got punched out or almost nearly got killed? Because one of those days, it could have very easily been a mobbed up person that got disrespected by Ralph, and they would have just planted him.
Yeah. And this was like what they said. It was like a punch in the gut and all this stuff. And then he was bloodied up nose after he tried to retaliate afterwards. Good for his ass.
I love that clip.
the way it started, but then Ralph immediately came back with attitude.
No, he yells at Ralph. Ralph yells, feels defensive, and starts yelling back.
But
That's
evidently,
what happened.
but Ralph has had similar problems, right, Ralph?
Thank you, Robin.
Have you had similar problems?
Wait,
did you have problems with Ralph? You and Ralph get along?
Are you now going to give me a lesson in manners? You're somebody.
No, it's too late. Your mother missed the boat on that 20 years ago. I can't help you.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't help. I can't teach you to be mannered now.
You are a person. You are a person.
Yeah, but she's enabling him, and that's the big thing. She's enabling it because it's like I mentioned. I have a friend who is, he's obnoxious, and I've known him for 20 years, and for 20 years he's been obnoxious, and. You come to grips for after a while that some people just accept his obnoxiousness and just ignore it. But when it comes to a new group of people who meet him, I got to get pulled to the side. Like, hey, listen, your boy is a bit obnoxious. I was like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. But then, a couple of days later, he's back to the old drawing board. It's like,
well, my question is, if he's a friend, if he's obnoxious, why is he a friend? Or is it like a huge history and he's not always obnoxious?
He's not obnoxious with me. He's everybody else. He just those type of people that just rub people the wrong way, or they'll do
like Ralph.
Right. Or maybe I'm Wiggy. I don't know. Maybe Wiggy. He's my Ralph. All right. Touche. You got it.
I never pegged you for. Sorry, I shouldn't have said pegged. I never figured you for a 9 Inch Nails basement kind of guy.
A guy who just likes to wear grunge clothing after 8 years after it's been done.
During the swing period.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
And then I had to have a talk with about a year ago because I was doing all these things for the show, and you would never once said thank you to me. Never once.
What
I was
things
helping
for the
you
show?
out with things. And you never once said thank you.
Ralph, let me ask you a question. How many things have I helped you with?
Ralph bringing up a non-point, but there, and again, if he has no good relationship with Gary, that's the reason why Gary's going to treat him like shit. And this is where Gary could be wrong. But again, these two are doing nothing to make that. They did nothing to make that relationship better, work-wise anyway.
Well, this is another Dr. Keith Abalo situation where they're staying on topic. Now we're veering off to somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
How many things have I helped you with? Let's talk about the guy. Hold on. Let's talk about the guy who I got front row tickets to see Kiss to. Howard said it was okay to do it. Get you front row tickets to Kiss to. No, I got those for you, buddy. Howard said, if you need to get Ralph tickets, get them. I'm the one who called in a huge favor. I'm the one who got you in the front row.
Okay.
And you walk in the door, and I said, how was the concert? And your response to me was, it's really a concert that needs to be seen from farther back to get the full effect.
What a fucking asshole.
Oh, man.
Pretty sure that would have been the last time he ever got fucking anything from me, honestly.
Oh, my God. That's like you get some bitch a Corvette and she says it's the wrong color. Kayla, I'm so sorry. I know I threw that in for you, actually. I knew you might like the word bitch sprinkled in. But and let's see, 97, they're going on their Psycho Circus tour or whatever. They're still on the reunion tour, and that's a big ticket item, I suppose. Front row at Kiss, probably back then at least a few hundred.
Yeah, definitely. And for him to even say, once again, it's the gall, because let it had been anyone else, I can't fathom that he would have said it. But because of his relationship with Wiggy, yeah, sure, he could say it to Gary.
Oh yeah. What's the problem there, Ralph? You didn't want to get close to Paul Stanley's hairy chest.
Did that not happen, Ralph?
Gary, I don't.
That's what happened.
See, Gary, I don't even know you perceived it like that because I said thank you and I said I didn't say.
All right, look, thank you appeared to be an afterthought, and I always thank you, Ralph. Anything you ask for, I try to get you. Here's another problem with Ralph.
Yeah.
When Ralph wanted those Kiss tickets, this is a typical Ralph move. Listen, he wanted tickets to go see Stone Temple Pilots or some concert.
Go ahead. Yeah, help me understand.
I told him to go see Peggy. He went to see Peggy, and he felt it got blown off.
Okay.
But everybody comes to me for tickets, and I can't get people tickets for every show, every time.
Right. This ain't your job.
But Ralph comes to me, and it's just this funny attitude that he has. He says, listen, Kiss is my favorite band. I really want to see them. I want tickets, and I don't want crummy seats. If I can't have good seats, I don't want to go.
Not only would I have written him off, I would have absolutely just like I would have shined him on. I would have just said, "Yeah, I'll look for tickets," and not lifted a fucking finger.
I don't know. There's a certain thing that occurs to me, and I remember speaking about this with my mother not too long ago, where I for years I would watch someone make moves like that or have a personality trait like that, and in the back of my mind after watching it, I go to myself and say, I'm not gonna do that. It's like I'm not gonna be that kind of person. You have to be in awe of how individuals could walk around in life like that with no cares in the world that they can be able to speak that way.
In my life, I've only known a few, and they've all one of them just met he's had the worst luck on the planet. And I go, if there is such a thing as karma, which a lot of people don't believe in, that is a case where it exists. This guy was such a negative prick where things like that happened, and I realized that maybe there is something to karma. I'm not 100% certain, but that's a good candidate for it. And then another person that I know is. She's it's not some I don't know how it manifested itself because her mother's a sweetheart and her dad, rest his soul, he was a great guy, but I'm like, there must be some asshole uncle or aunt that the DNA comes from. Because I can't explain it. When it doesn't come from the parents, I'm like at a loss. Is it from an asshole sibling? Is it from a grandfather who's a piece of shit? There's got to be some, if you can get allergies splitting, missing generations, then maybe you can get assholedom as well.
Well, it's like there was a scientific discovery that happened not too long ago where there's that thought of free will, that people believe that, God gives you free will.
Right.
But it was discovered that in your DNA and genes is a tie that goes back to your history of you being an asshole. So if you have, a lineage, let's say it's going as far back as Genghis Khan being a fucking tyrant and an asshole, then most likely you're going to be a tyrant and an asshole in 2025 because it's tied to your bloodline. So
yeah,
there's free will, dog. It's always going to be there.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly convinced.
I didn't say it.
You certainly did.
You interpret, and you do that with everybody.
So why did you bother getting him seats then?
You put a spin on it.
Because I still, deep down inside, I think there's a nice guy hiding in there, and I wanted to help him. I knew that he loved Kiss.
Right.
I knew that meant a lot to him.
Right.
And
I thought I could pull it off.
And I said, thank you. And Gary, you got me like that really cool Spider-Man
you see what he's saying?
I mean,
Ralph, you see what he's saying though?
What?
Attitude. The way you ask for stuff.
Oh, hey.
Maybe maybe there's something there.
Did you say that you wanted really good seats and that if you couldn't get good seats, you didn't want them?
And what I said to you, Gary, was that I said, when you ask Howard for these, tell him that I'm not constantly asking for tickets and getting them. I haven't. Last few times I asked for tickets, I didn't get them. So I'd really, and I asked you like 2 months in advance. Right. If there's anything you could do, can you just make sure that I get, can you make some kind of extra effort to make sure that I get good seats?
And then the kicker was, and if I don't get good seats, I'd rather not go.
I didn't say that.
Oh, yes, you did.
Gary's a known bullshit artist too, but I believe him in this situation.
Yeah, because why would you just throw that out there? That's like, I mean, there's already a lot of focal points of Ralph's obnoxiousness here. To add that to it, that distinctly would be what he would say.
Well, and it's not that it comes out so easy for Bowie, but it does. But second of all, yeah, as you just so aptly pointed out, there's a history of Ralph being a complete cunt on the air and off the air. So why would this be any different? That one we're going to cover is the Hamptons party, the Hamptons, the Tom Petty concert thing, that him in the helicopter and that Artie giving him money to give to the limo driver, and then that answering machine message.
Oh, that one is yeah. Can you wrap up cookies and can you put it in a bag? They put it's like, really?
I would send him on a fucking helicopter, the same helicopter ride that Stevie Ray Vaughan went on. That piece of shit. No.
Oh, what is it? What's his name? What's his name? Was it not so from Scarface? Anyway,
Omar.
Omar. No, you know what's crazy is that I'm thinking about it, and like as I heard it recently as well. Even before this, when did you ever hear the one? Have you guys ever covered when Ralph wanted to be the staff photographer? And
no, you mentioned it, but no, I don't. It wasn't a long clip, was it?
It's about maybe 15-20 minutes they had.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And everybody's like, no, he thinks he's slick. He wants to get a $2,000 camera for $1,000 because he knows that Howard would pay for the other half. And and Wiggy's like, yeah, and then I'm running around looking for my pictures, and he's like, no, I have it in my portfolio.
Oh yeah, fucking schnurr, Christ's sake.
Yes, you did.
Maybe
he said if I don't get good seats, it's not worth it to me.
You know what?
Well, you guys have a.
I probably did say that, Gary, because if I don't have good seats, what am I going to do? Get binoculars and watch the show?
He wants the star treatment.
What?
He wants the star treatment.
No, Gary. I just said if he can get me good seats, get him. If not, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? What
were all the great things
that I have an attitude and want the stern treatment?
What were all the great things that you did for me that I didn't thank you for? I think I thank you every time you do something to help me. I know that you helped me do a design for my very short-lived T-shirt, which I thanked you for, even though you misplaced it for 8 months.
You didn't pay me for the colors. It's $19 for all those color copies.
$19 in color copies. I'd be more than happy to pay you back. I can't think of how many things I give you, how many things that I give to you that come in through here, or how I'm going to look at for things that you like, and I help you out.
But then it always falls apart. It's like this strained relationship. I always feel like I got to walk on eggs with you.
No, you just have to learn.
I have to end this.
Hey, Ralph, just explain one more thing to me. The day that we came in and we had that fight about that stuff being returned to Barney's, and you said you couldn't return it because they opened at 10 and you had work to do.
Right.
You were here till noon that day.
He's got half the hour. He's got the entire afternoon to go do that.
And by the way, the instance with the shirt, Bowie didn't ask him to make the shirt. Wiggy was the one that told Ralph to make the shirt because he made a crappy shirt that looked terrible, and Ralph came in and was like, hey, I would do one for you. I'm okay. I know how to design. And Wiggy's like, hey, why don't you design one for him? Then okay, I'll do that. And that's what it was. Now he wants payment for it.
I remember we covered, it was a breakdown probably 2023, maybe 2022, where Howard discussed an old story of Ralph was supposed to work with somebody, maybe like Sam Simon or something, about doing an app for comics.
Yes, that was it's for the iPad. We need the dimensions for the photos.
And he talked about it. He said basically he just blew it off and he didn't want to put in the work. We're like, why would you got this lazy piece of shit entitled Bridge and Tunnel Pustara that you've proven you're not going to fire him for being tardy. You're not going to fire him for being like bellicose and full of shit, for doing a lousy job when he gets it done, but always getting or interacting poorly with the staff. So why, again, the only reason to keep that guy on is because he sucks a mean dick.
Yeah. That's why Sam kept him around. Remember I mentioned the last show, he was supposed to make a robe for a boxer and it took him year and a half to make. So
fuck, did the boxer retire by the time it was made?
He got knocked out before he even got to wear the robe.
You know that story about Elvis made a robe for Muhammad Ali. And it was obviously during the 70s, but I think he fought Ken Norton and I think he lost. And so he swore he'd never wear that robe again.
they had spoke about that whole Sam and Ralph relationship too, and everybody's like, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what is that about, and they were alluding to, because Wiki kept like, no, I know Sam he loves women, and I know Ralph has been with women before, and Robin was like, I don't know, this is a little bit too much going on there that we don't know about.
Doing nothing but walking around checking out the hot new interns.
No, I wasn't.
What were you doing?
That's what
Gary,
he had to do.
No, but what were you?
He had to do that.
Forget
Gary, you don't know
forget the intern
important.
comment. Forget the intern comment. What were you doing that day?
I was checking out the interns from 8 to 10.
Right. And what were you doing from 10 on? That you couldn't run a block and a half away to return something that's your job to do.
No, Gary, I didn't. I left at 10.
You absolutely did not. Kathy and I both.
Why are you telling
Kathy
me
and
what
I
my
both
job
made.
is?
Kathy and I both noticed that you were here in way more time than you needed to just be able to run over to Barney's, drop something off, and be back.
Gary, you don't know what I was doing. Why are you sitting there telling me what?
You weren't on a phone. You weren't sitting at a desk writing, and you didn't appear to be thinking very hard. That to me says that you're walking around chatting with people.
Why are you monitoring what I
do?
Because
Love it. He wasn't doing jack shit, essentially.
He just he just doesn't get it, doesn't want to get it, or just doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
Because you're affecting what I do in my office and how I run my people. That's
How?
why. By taking somebody out of my office who could be answering
You
the
used
phone
an intern.
or working on an article
Howard.
or doing something and sending them out because you're just too goddamn lazy to do it.
No, it has nothing to do with me being lazy. See, you make that determination in your mind, and all of a sudden.
But then explain to me what you were doing that day that kept you from going over there.
I was busy with stuff.
But tell me what I got you.
I had to get out to Howard's that day, actually.
Right, but you didn't get out there till much later. The time was there, Ralph.
No, I left at 10. I left the station at 10.
He didn't. Howard, he just didn't.
I did. And you know what, Gary? Even if I didn't, if I had other stuff to do.
And even if I didn't.
Jackie was waiting for that. He was biting at the bit for that one.
Oh, fuck yeah.
What's the matter, Jackie?
Just what you keep saying. I definitely didn't. And even if I did,
Right.
I didn't do that.
Listen,
even if I
Fran Drescher is here.
Well,
I'm very interested in speaking with her.
Yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, why aren't you
She
here
is
today,
hot.
Ralph? You would love to come in when only the good-looking guests are here.
What's wrong with her?
Why? What's in Fran Drescher?
No, it's Fran's good-looking.
Oh, I see.
Why isn't
Fran
Fran's good-looking. Why isn't Ralph here today? He likes to meet the big stars.
Because I didn't want to see you.
For a year and a half, Ralph had to put makeup on us every day, and it was like his whole reason for living.
Right.
He was like Picasso with the makeup.
Right.
He hasn't been here in a year.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Now listen to me, stupid. I told you to listen to me.
Yes, sir.
There's a psychologist on the phone. I'd love to hear what he has to say,
Wait a second.
but
Wait
I've
a
got
second.
Fran
Wait
here.
a second.
Yeah.
Wait.
This guy that calls in is right on the fucking money. I clipped this specifically, like just to put into an intro, and I just haven't got around to it. But he nails it. Do you remember this?
Yeah, no, it just made me laugh because I was thinking about that, and I thought it was the one where the doctor that called in for Robin during the argument with John and Dr. Pergolis.
I don't remember that.
I thought it was that, yeah, Dr. Pergolis, and then he goes, "I'm not really a doctor, but."
I want to explain this situation the other day. If I went to Kathy and I asked Kathy, I said, I have something that needs to be returned to Barney's. Is there anybody who can do it? And she said, sure, no problem. I'd love to get some of these people out of here or something like that. It was no problem.
You want to hear from a psychologist?
It was no problem for
Let
Kathy.
him talk about this
It's
relationship.
a problem to me.
Is this Derek?
Yeah, but Gary, I don't know that.
Yeah. Let's hear what this guy has to say. Maybe there'll be some resolve.
And anytime I don't
Shut up. We got to get to Fran.
lazy,
I got to get to Fran Drescher. So, Derek.
Gary, let me ask you a question. If you need something run down the hall or typed up, do you do it yourself or do you ask somebody else to do it?
Ralph, this is my office, not your office.
Ralph, be quiet.
Ralph, you're digging a ditch. You're digging a ditch for yourself. It's Gary's office. He uses these interns.
It's like me going to your house and saying, I need my house cleaned.
Get
your maid
own
over.
staff,
Yeah.
Ralph, if that's what you want
Get
to
your
do.
own staff. Get an
I didn't
intern.
tell an intern to do it.
What does the psychiatrist have to say?
Psychologist.
May I speak?
Even
Yes.
if I did.
Go ahead, Derek.
Howard, I used to do exit counseling for cults.
Yes.
I hope this guy's still alive. I'd love to be able to get an interview with him.
and listen,
This is a cult.
it stood and it still lingers to this day because you got people who have been extradited or have left or just doing their own thing, but
Yeah.
they still under that cult mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
And this is a classic example of a minor sociopath who is do anything for your love, affection, and recognition.
Okay, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Ralph.
Oh, okay.
Gary, you're a normal, decent human being. You are never going to make any headway with Ralph.
Oh, you are an idiot.
What do you mean by a psychopath?
I am not an idiot.
Sociopath.
Who is this, Dr. Seuss? No. You can liken this whole thing to Howard as a guru, and all the interns, all Ralph, John, Gary, Fred, Jackie, not Robin. Robin's special. But all of these people are the inner circle of this cult, and it's the Howard Stern cult. And Howard, you play him like a violin. It's beautiful. It's the best entertainment of the 20th century.
All right, let me say something here, Ralph.
So you didn't go far enough. I was kind of hoping you'd actually get a little more into the ins and outs. And this is something we're going to do as an episode at some point because of the TM thing, the Robin with the landmark forum thing. There's a couple other aspects of the show that are very cult-like, and we'll do a little comparison.
Yeah, this is what I believe that whole episode where the narcissist the test happened and such, and Robin scored as high as she did. That's when I said I can't believe that anybody else didn't score as high as she did in that room, because they all feed off each other of the same thing. And
oh yeah,
it's more astounding that Ralph didn't score high. I think the next closest was Benji.
Yes,
but I couldn't believe that Ralph was nowhere near that.
I took the same test Robin did, but I answered the way I believed Howard would, and I scored like a 41.
Wow. So I think there was a way to not, well,
it's easy as fuck. You know that the numbers are between 1 and 5, and if you don't want them to go the way the narcissist, you pick the lower number or whatever.
The lower number, and that's what I'm saying. So it's not like we can play Russian roulette with it, and then you're gonna get one that like Deer Hunter, like you're gonna fucking die if you don't score.
That narcissism test was like when they all convinced Billy West. They all convinced him they're all going to take pictures of their nutsacks and bring them in the next day and see who's, and only Billy brought a picture of his in.
That was a good one.
Disregarding even for a minute what this brilliant psychologist has said, and he's right on the money.
Dr. Seuss.
Do you feel? And I'm going to ask you a question because I got to get the friend.
I have to ask you a question. Do you feel
that the United States?
Do you feel? You want to joke or you want to? Because you got a personality problem, pal.
The lack of it.
Do you feel?
No, he's got too much of a personality.
That you have a higher elevated position. If you were to put a map of the organization of this show,
the echelon,
do you feel you really have to answer to Gary?
Do I feel I have to answer to Gary?
So just by not answering and repeating the question, we know the answer is no.
Exactly.
Everybody, any body language expert, anybody listening, you don't need a fucking lie detector test for this. We know that. But even if he didn't have to question, we know that.
Did you call Robin Gibbons a nigga? Would you? But once again, but another thing is where he would have been honest and been said, "Yeah, I don't have to answer to Gary because of you." That's the real answer.
That's what's not being said, and that's really. And Howard, if he, I think it would be more entertaining if he at least would say, "Look, Ralph's my guy. When he says something, do it."
Or at least say, "Yo, come to me.
Come to me. Let him deal with me,
and I'll deal with it." All right.
Yep.
In what respect?
Okay, I'll give you a question. Gary comes to you and says,
that's your answer.
I don't want you in the air studio unless you ask me first. And then a day later, you walk into the studio, disregarding everything Gary just said. Do you feel that he is in any way?
That is not right to do.
It's not right. Have you done that?
Yes.
Okay.
And mind you, this was already after. Remember, Gary just mentioned that he used to do makeup. He doesn't do makeup for them anymore.
Long time.
He doesn't do Howard's hair anymore. It's done.
No.
I think by this time, maybe he's working with E. I believe he's doing their stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe doing for that. And that's not even relevant to regardless of the whole Howard Stern show. Anything that has to do with on-air in studio stuff. That's something different. So
yep.
Yeah, there's no need for him. That's what I'm saying. There's not a real line between what he's allowed and what he's not allowed to do.
Well, that's it. He used to do the prosthetics for the Channel 9 show, and then later on for E! Whatever early bits when they still did bits. Like I guess as of '94, probably the Whoopi Goldberg, the Sherman Hemsley one, the one that the blackface sketch. That era was probably the last time he had to do any of that stuff, and he did a bang up job with the fucking makeup. But you're right, at a certain point, he just becomes Howard's stylist. And but then he doesn't even do his hair, so he's picking clothes from whatever online. He's going shopping. This is pre-online, and he's sending them to him or giving them to him, and that's it.
It wasn't like Fabian and
Fabian, yeah. I might need your help with this. I'm looking specifically for the episode where Fabian actually comes in to help judge a contest. Do you remember? It was in this era. Do you remember roughly when it was?
I believe is that the one where I think it was the bouncer from Scores was in there as well, and he was hitting on her.
Maybe.
I believe. Yeah, I'll if I come across it, I'll send it to you.
Okay, let me know, because I know I had it somewhere. I had to remix it because it was too low in the audio, and then I couldn't find it anymore. So maybe I thought maybe I deleted it. Now I can't. I don't know what year it is and what episode it is where Fabian comes in, and it's not on Mark's Friggin'.
Yeah, there was it was doing the evaluations. I believe it was like in the early 2000s. That's when it was.
That might be it. Yeah. So if you come across that in the you still have that link I sent you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Fabian and Dana. Was hammering Ralph with that the whole time.
Oh fucking hell!
So I've apologized for it.
Okay.
And I don't do that anymore.
Well, you're not here often enough, but you apologize for it. You did it several times, not just once.
Okay. So you would say that really you have no respect for Gary. True?
No.
Be honest. You don't have that much respect for him.
He's got minimal respect for me.
I really think that where Ralph has the problem is he doesn't think Gary understands him. So he has to go over Gary's
And it's not Gary's job to understand Ralph.
No, it's not his job to understand. But that's what motivates Ralph. It's not that he doesn't respect Gary. If Gary understood him, he would listen. But he feels he couldn't possibly make Gary understand.
That's such horseshit, Robin. It's just they hate each other, and he's also he's an asshole. Gary knows it. That's the other problem, and ultimately he's disrespecting Gary. So Gary has every right to treat him like a piece of shit.
This is an instance where she's just playing two sides of the fence, but she's doing a horrible job of it. Just pathetic. Say Ralph didn't do anything wrong. Just say that. Because that's basically what you want to imply.
Yeah, you're trying to explain the behavior instead of saying, like, look, there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. Now, professionally, Gary should be going to Howard privately and saying, either he goes or I go.
Right.
Or whatever. Like, you keep him out of here. You tell him. He won't listen to me, but he better listen to you, and you better fucking tell him.
Yeah, and, but with her, it's coddling. She's coddling his behavior.
Mm-hmm.
To make the right decisions.
Now, isn't it true?
Not for Ralph.
Don't you think sometimes in dealing with, let's say, the E! Show, or I'm starting to understand what might be the problem, or any of these people, they don't seem to understand you?
Right.
Do you find that? Do you find that, let's say, publicists don't seem to understand you? Scott Einziger doesn't seem to understand how important you are. Do you start to feel that various people...
They don't get that he knows something they don't.
Right. Do you ever feel like they don't get it?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Now, here's what we got to do. I think I've solved your problem. You have to now assume that they get it. That's it. There's your answer to your problem.
Howard, there's
How do you feel? Do you feel better?
Part of it too.
What is that, Derek?
Give Ralph a title.
You have hit on it exactly.
Yes. Gary is the producer. He has more public profile.
Thank you, Derek. Ralph, I'm going to give you a title right now.
This should be good.
All right? You are my douchebag.
You are.
You are my douchebag.
Yeah, you do use him to clean up your pussy, asshole. Fucking asshole. Jesus. Mathengil. Well, that is something we've talked about before. Like when we did the Tracy versus Gary thing, there's no delineation of duty, and there are no actual job titles. Like when they say producer, it means nothing.
Yeah, it's just a name on a credit. It doesn't mean there's nothing that really holds any power or relevance to it.
Not really.
No, you are going to be called. You are my valet. How was that?
That's no. Thank you. No.
You don't want to be that?
Valet.
I'm going to come up with the title for you. Derek is absolutely right. Okay.
Yes.
He needs a position.
You'll be above Gorillo, below Gary. Okay.
Yes.
You're going to have a position.
Howard, I'm just going to say one thing in closing.
Thank
Well, you know what part of
hold on.
I got to get to Fran Drescher.
Because there's another part of this puzzle.
All the jokes aside, because I'm going to go back to the office.
Go ahead.
All the jokes aside, I'm a lot more calm now. Let's just do it here on the air so we get out of the way forever. We're never going to get along. We're never going to like each other. We admit that. Let's just be civil to each other when we see each other. I don't want to have some uncomfortable thing when you come in again where we go in a room and talk.
Handle yourself professionally.
No, but Ralph, we're just going to say we'll just be
that's it, Gary. Gary, that's what.
Gary, you don't want any discussion.
That's what hurt me and upset you.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
Is that I've always liked you. I never.
And I like you.
All right,
but
no side agreed. No side discussions. No.
You agreed not to get along.
Whatever you need from me, you call me and you let me know. If you need something for Howard, call me and you let me know. But we'll just leave it at that.
Good. Ralph, fair enough?
Fine.
The other part of this problem, though, is that he does have such direct access to you.
He has the hotline to Howard, so he can ignore anything else that's going on.
It's direct access. He's got full fucking backdoor access. That's the problem.
In more ways than one. Yeah.
Not that he can ignore it, it just confuses Ralph.
All right, so what are you saying?
Because he does have this direct access to Howard at some points. You know, he works directly
Yes,
with
he
Howard.
has to have that.
And
Right
for
on the money,
Howard.
Robin.
And then at another time, he's supposed to go through Gary.
So there's conflict.
Yeah.
I see. Ralph, can you figure out how to handle Gary? In other words, how to be diplomatic? What is it, John?
Well,
I've got to go to Fran Drescher.
I know you do.
I've got to end
she
this.
looks great.
Yeah.
But Ronnie just called. He can't talk now because he's got people in his car.
Right.
But he does want to add to this because he has plenty of stories of Ralph.
Okay. Well, all right. So here is the deal.
Rob was making a valid point there.
All right. Whatever. Listen, I got to stop with all the valid points. I got to stop. Only because if Fran Drescher wasn't here, I would go. This would be a 4-hour show. I would be fascinated.
This is better than Jackie and Ronnie.
Right. This is fantastic. I'm going to put this one. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to put this on hold.
Yeah, it's not going to go away, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to get any less angry in an hour.
Right. And what?
I think it's extremely telling that when Ralph passed away, most of the staff didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it was the traditional complimentary stuff that people would say, but it wasn't like when Hank died. There were a lot of people were more burning with emotion of sadness when he died than there was anybody else. Before they go into that, the Ronnie stories, one of them was that Ralph is the guy who goes in the back of the limo, takes a free ride wherever he wants to go, and complains about where the driver and how the driver is taking the course of where they're going. He wants to be the captain of the ship, letting them know how to drive the limo.
Oh, fuck. I'd be slamming the brakes constantly with that cocksucker in there. I'm shake and bake. Fuck him.
What I'm going to say is this. You two should not even talk about this privately.
Well,
because
Howard,
you've already, it's boring.
Howard, Kathy's in the back, and she said Gary and Ralph have both been, talking to her about it, both saying how they were going to beat each other up about this.
Right. I've heard it too.
We both were so angry.
Right.
We both wanted to
tape all conversations. All right. Thank you, Ralph, and thank you, Gary.
Now, do you think this problem is over, or is this going to continue and linger?
It's going to continue and linger because even during the break, even though the guys were being sort of neutral all the time, I just walked in the middle of a conversation, so it wasn't for my benefit. They were saying Ruff didn't hear a word. Did not hear a word of that. He doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He doesn't think he's got. If we would have had time, we could have lined up people to call in. He does have a problem with everybody, but he doesn't think he does.
But do you think Ralph has the worst problem with you?
Yes. Oh, that is without question. That is without question. Because I think he thinks he could do the show, with his eyes closed. I don't know what he thinks.
As opposed to Gary, who does do the show with his eyes closed.
I always found it amazing that he is the producer of the show and he's in the bullpen with everyone else. He didn't even have his own office, until he got to Sirius, and he must have had to beg for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what I love was when they gave his office to Marcy Turk, and he had to share with sort of JD or someone. Well, they didn't at K-Rock. I remember specifically the studio was a lot smaller, so I presume that the floor space was very compromised anyway.
Yeah, but you could have at least like, you know, even if it's a closet, give them something because
yeah, they should have. You need to have privacy first of all. Like all these people listening to the calls, he should have had his own office where he could actually it just be sequestered. It might be a little. You hear some din outside, but mostly he's got privacy to talk to whoever he needs to because that's a producer. Who knows who he's fucking talking to that wants to keep it hush hush.
That, and then he's supposed to be responsible for listening to the show at the same time, waiting to respond at Wiggy's beck and call. And how can you do that when the phones are ringing and you got ambient sounds everywhere going? It's crazy how he was able to manage all that.
I think you get like ADHD in a workplace like that.
Have to. A lot of things become white noise after a while.
Big time.
But yeah, he doesn't think much of me.
He can antagonize you so horribly that you just want to like strangle him. There's really no other way.
Like I knew he was so mad at me that he wanted to hit me. I know he gets that mad, but I don't think I mean I've been mad at him like, oh, what an asshole. But that night I really like when I got in the car with Mary, I thought to myself, I could have we could have rolled around beating each other up and it wouldn't have been out of the question.
And I totally expected it. I mean, I walked in and I saw you like freaking out over it. I was like, Gary looks like he could definitely swing, and Ralph was like being smart at least and walking away because I know that Gary would definitely have pummeled him if it had gone any further. And I was like, wait, and I was sitting there.
Part of the story. Ralph didn't walk away. What happened was after we were fighting, I go, get out. You don't belong here. Get out. Who invited you here? And he was, I go, go, get out of my face. So he walked away. So, I mean, he could have turned around and punched me in the face.
Normally, he would have come back at you and went, back at you, but he didn't, so.
Why is Ralph pushing you, like, to that point? You know what I mean?
Because he has to have tension constantly. That's why. He needs attention.
How much proof do you need that he's out of control when he's talking on Howard's radio show and curses 5 times? How much respect does he have for anything? But he does give great oral sex, right. Ralph. Channel 9, behind the building.
Perfect. We couldn't ask for a better ending. Anyway, any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Man, I'm now that we've opened this Pandora gay box of Ralph, yes, I am the arbiter of all things gay on the QF Howard Stern podcast. Yes, I'm looking forward to do more Ralph deep dives, and also congratulations.
You're the head of the pearl necklace gates.
Yeah, the Lord of the pegging crew. Congratulations, 5 years, right?
Oh yeah.
Wow. I have to say I'm honored and I'm blessed, and I thank you for having me around for such a long time as well. And as I always tell people, I backed the right horse. After leaving the old place, I stuck around with a bunch of buffoons who are just as silly as I am.
Well, you honor us with your help and your support, of course, and we couldn't have a better partner and co-host as well when it comes to these shows. And Jay does a great job, not just with us, but with his own show. And the work that goes into doing both is extraordinary because, again, got to keep on top of stuff. And even now, there are some people posting on Reddit, for example, about Robin. Like she mentioned having a stool in her bathroom, so she's in hospice care or something. And I go, she's not in hospice care. She just has something to make it her fat ass easier, like to wash when she gets in her own bathroom. She's not in a hospice yet, but is she like impaired? Like, does she probably have bars on the bathtub to help herself get up? Yeah, sure. Anybody rich would probably install that at one point or another when you get to her physical incapacity.
That, and some of these tubs are pretty high, so getting them legs over them tubs can be problems. It could be
Yeah. Well, either way, man, thank you so much. And thank all of you guys. The official birthday was, I believe, February 9th, but I was traveling and couldn't really do anything for that time. But 5 years, and hopefully we don't know how much longer it's going to go for. Like we just try. Just is Howard still moving? He's probably going to outlive me, so I don't know. We might have to pass this one on to some unlucky descendant and say, look, this is what this is in the will. You got the microphone and all the clips. So how about a plug for Turnbuckle Tabloid?
For as long as Howard's going to live, he's finally going to do Doomsday. It's not going to be the cartoon. It's going to actually him living it for real. That's exactly.
No kidding.
him. He's gonna make it a biop. Make sure you check us out on all the social media outlets, as well as on podcasting outlets for Turnbuckle Tabloid, and on our YouTube page, and as well as my other venture, my New York Wrestle Media Network on YouTube, where I have a ton of shows with many different contributors and such who have been partaking in sharing not only their love for wrestling, but also their love for pop culture as well. So thank you guys who've been following and subscribing and liking and being part of the silliness that is us as well. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys. We love you. Take care. See you on the next one.
And goodbye, my sweet loves.
Well, just real quick, I was also calling because I just wanted to say my tour starts on the 17th of June.
Thanks, Eric. All right, buddy.
Eric, what? I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I said the tour that I'm
Take care, man. Don't ever call back.